talking to a friend recently who's about to take on a new role as a leader in a new organisation. And they asked me about how they should approach it. I said, of course, you want to use systems thinking, but how would you actually use systems thinking to work out how you're going to operate in this new position? It's quite simple. So if we look at this here, you've got yourself as the new leader. You're about to join a new organisation. We look at the parts of the system that you're going to be working in. So your team is going to be a part of that organisational system. We zoom in a little bit further and we see that you've got team members within your team. So that's the first thing you need to think about, is where you and your team fit into the system. Then once you understand your new team, let's say in this example you've got 4 team members, what you want to do is understand the relationships between you and those new team members. So building relationships is important for having an effective organisational system. So you want to build an understanding across your team as to all of your team members' motivations, their desires, what they want to do in their careers, and then you also want to understand how do those team members work together. So what's the relationship between those different team members? How do they work together? What do they do as part of their relationships in and amongst the work that they do on a daily basis? And you understand that system. So making distinctions about the team members that are part of your team, understanding the relationships between them, how they act and react with each other to do the work that they need to do on a daily basis. And then you can start to understand or distinguish what those relationships are. And each person you'll have a slightly different relationship with, so therefore you're distinguishing those relationships in different ways. Each of those relationships will have different parts to them as well. And for example, in this relationship, you might be more of a mentor for this person, and you distinguish that relationship differently, maybe to team member 4, who is looking to uplift their leadership skills. And so maybe the relationship that you have with them is more of a providing guidance and insights into their leadership skills and ability, and giving them more free rein to make decisions and build that leadership capability. So by distinguishing each of the relationships that you have with your team members, you can understand how you need to deal with them differently. Then if we expand that a little bit further, so we're looking to the wider system, now that you've got a good understanding of your own team system, the next thing you want to understand is what's the relationship between your team and other teams that are in the business, in the organisation. You may not have strong relationships with every team just by the nature of the work that you do. So what you want to try and understand is who are the other teams that you need to work with closely on whatever your function or your mission might be. So understanding how teams work together, the relationships between each of those teams, how they function, are they dysfunctional? Is there areas you need to focus on to build back trust maybe, or build a stronger partnership with those teams compared to the way they used to work? Understanding again the relationship between the different teams and your team and how you work together to achieve a goal collectively becomes very important. And again, you can start to define those relationships. So maybe your team is tasked with auditing other teams within the company, and you may partner with team 2 to do that auditing. Maybe they've got some resources that you need to leverage, some experience that you need to leverage. So that's more of a partnering type relationship that you're distinguishing there. Maybe the team that you're responsible for auditing is team number 3, and so the relationship that you have with them is an auditing relationship. And again, by defining or distinguishing all the relationships that you work with across the different teams helps you understand how you need to work with those teams where you need to focus, because not every team has the same goal and the same objective, so your relationship with teams are different as well. And so this is a way that you can quite easily, when you move into a new organisation, understand the lay of the land, understand the relationships between the different teams, how you work together, understand your team and how that system works, relationships between the different parts of the teams, which allows you to be a more dynamic and adaptable leader to the different needs of your team members, which of course started with you understanding where your team fits into the bigger picture. So zooming in to find out more about your team members and zooming out to understand where your team is in relationship to the new organisation that you're working in. So hopefully this has been a good way to understand how systems thinking, and particularly using DSRP, distinctions, systems, relationships and perspectives, is a good way for you to help assimilate into a new role that you may be taking on within a new organisation. Hope that's been helpful. Thank you very much.